Yes, sir. There she goes. Another episode of Clean Breaks. Report card pickup for 6/26, 2021. My guy. I think that was an exciting night of boxing.
Definitely.
Yeah, man. I enjoyed it. We had fights on ESPN, and then we have fights on Showtime. And then we also have fights on the zone, which I had to watch later on that night and fell asleep on. So I'll have to go back and watch it again. But that Pacheco kid on the DAZN show, man, at 6'4", at 154, I think him and Fundor should mix it up, man.
Him and Fundora will definitely, at some point, mix it up. Fundora, PBC,
Oh,
Pacheco,
yeah,
the zone,
yeah.
Matchroom, however you want to call it. So whoever he's with, a Golden Boy, probably Golden Boy is probably who he's with, but they're all on the zone. So
Yeah, took all the fighters over there.
yeah,
It was interesting to see him fighting. I think Fundora wins that fight though.
Fundora does win that fight.
I would probably keep Pacheco away from him for right now. I don't think he's ready for that. Hey, have you noticed that even with the ESPN fights, there's a lot of Robert Garcia over there, man.
Yeah, a lot of Robert Garcia. Well, he's good for business.
He's got a big gym.
Rob, he's got a big gym. He promotes and backs up the culture that, well, not the culture. Well, his culture, number one, which is, Mexican American, which is good for business because they like to divide and promote things in boxing among racial and national lines. And Garcia feeds into that more so than anybody in all of boxing.
Yeah.
Where you'll hear them say, they'll say, hey, who's matched up? Tank and Barrios. Well, even though I'm going to say a whole bunch of things that shows that Tank is a superior, better fighter, and I think he's going to win. He's got the power to carry up. He's giving you all the boxing common sense and all of the expertise he has in terms of picking who he thinks has the advantages, who he thinks is going to win. But then he'll end it and say, "But I'm going for Barrios because he's Mexican and he's Mexican American, so he's going to win." And that's just how the business of boxing
Nation pride
is national and also ethnic, right? Because Barrios wasn't born in Mexico.
True, but that
so
they're gonna claim that,
Well, they play on that again. That comes back to the ethnicity, right? So he definitely plays into that. He's good for business that way. I think that eventually that's going to die off. I think that's a very short-sighted way of looking at things. And I think you also lose credibility. It's one thing to say, hey, I'm Mexican, I'm proud if a Mexican guy wins. It's another thing to say, well, this guy's going to win because he's Mexican, right? I just think that's just bad. It just doesn't make any sense. It's bad. And it's catching up with him because a lot of his fighters are losing.
Yeah, and constructive criticism. When I'm looking at them and they're saying these guys are the top guys, they really aren't necessarily that good. Like when I hear them say that, oh, this guy is going to be the next guy, to me, from what I know about boxing, it really means that the guy's like a B-level fighter to me. And that's just me, because every time, well, not every time, but a good percentage of the time that I've seen fighters come out of his stable or other people's stable, they haven't been that high level quality that we think they should be, or we want them to be. They're usually just like B or C fighters. So again, I think we can say that's just where the dishonesty of boxing comes in, when guys start going about national or nation pride or ethnic pride, and there's nothing wrong with everybody. You should be proud of where you're from. I'm proud to be Black. You should be proud to be Mexican, Mexican American, whatever it may be. But when we're talking about being honest about the sport of boxing, that has, you kind of got to throw that out the way. If a guy's just better than you, he just better than you. A student doesn't contend with a C student, because an A student knows that he's better, and he knows that he can offer help to an A student. I mean, to a C student. So that's one of the things that we see often, where these guys will say, "Oh, well, I'm riding with Barrios," or "I'm riding with Virgil Ortiz against Boots Ennis," when we are looking at it and you're going, Boots is probably gonna go some rounds with him, but he's either gonna stop him or he's gonna, just outbox him for the rest of the night. So
Yeah,
there's two different things, like you said.
yeah.
However, let's get on into it. Did you watch any of the zone card, or you have to
I
catch
didn't
up to it
catch
later?
any of it. I wanted to look at it with fresh eyes. I
Okay.
plan on watching it on the big screen today. Now it was enough for me with ESPN and Showtime pay per
That
view. That
was
was
a
and
lot.
then look, those were great fights too. Those were master classes in boxing. We saw the two smaller guys beat the larger, longer, bigger opponents who are more natural to that weight class. And two guys who we have a great deal of respect for in terms of their boxing acumen as well.
Absolutely.
Um, and against two bigger guys who aren't great. It's like a great little guy beats a good big guy. And I think we saw that. And so at the end of the day, I like the way this is set up and how we lead into this, because these fights even say something about the Errol Spence Manny Pacquiao fight, because again, Errol's a bigger guy, Manny's a smaller guy. And so now the question is Errol a good big guy or is he a great big guy? Because we know Manny Pacquiao is a great little guy. So I think this fight is going to let us know, is Errol the great big guy, and would a great big guy sleep the great little guy? I think so. I think Errol's great. So we're going to find out. And that's why
Yeah,
I
I'm
think these
smiling
two
because
fights.
we know what that is. We know what that
Yeah. So I
is.
think it's going to show that. And you hear all the energy now. When you see what Lomachenko did to Nakatani, or you see what Tank did to Barrios, and no disrespect to Barrios and Nakatani, those guys are both excellent fighters. Like I said, I have respect for all fighters. They go in the ring, they put the work in, they put their lives on the line. I mean, they get punched in the face for a living, and they punch other people in the face for a living. And I have immense respect for them, but they're not Errol Spence. So I think that's the difference in the fights, but it was great watching them. Both of those guys do it differently last night. I want to see why they call boxing the sweet science. Watching those two fights really helps people understand skills pay the bills and that boxing is a sweet science.
Absolutely, I agree. I agree. So the main event for the ESPN Plus fight, what do you give Lomachenko versus Nakatani?
I give Lomachenko at A plus plus.
Oh wow, okay. Well, okay, because you called it. You said it. You said he was gonna go in there, and if he got his engine going right away, then
Yeah,
blow him out, and it would be a late stoppage.
yeah. Lomachenko's already an A plus fighter. What makes it A plus plus, and what has to make him A plus plus, is he has to compute and process. And when you have the physical disadvantages, you're going to have to take risk. Now you take calculated risk, but you're going to take more risk, because there's certain things and physical attributes that they're just, you just don't have them there against you. So you have to use other skills and other things to negate that physical advantage. The distance. And to watch the way Lomachenko did it, which is mostly with his footwork, which I think is going to be similar to what we see Manny Pacquiao try to do against Errol Spence, is with the footwork to try to get those angles and stuff like that. And then you'll see the difference with Errol. That won't work because number one, he's southpaw. Number two, he has educated feet. Number three, his jab was more consistent. Nakatani was orthodox, slow, awkward, and off balance all the time.
Just a robot.
Yeah, just a robot. So, and the robot couldn't land, couldn't land anything big to keep the other the Matrix Loma from switching up angles and bending and turning, and he was just turning them nonstop. So I give him an A plus plus, because unlike the Teofimo Lopez fight, and I told you this, if there's a rematch, I got Loma in that fight.
And the
Because I
rematch?
think in the rematch, I've got Loma. I just it is a combination of things. It's not that I think Teo can't beat him. I think there's two advantages going for Loma. Is number one, he's motivated. And he's, I'm not going to question somebody that injured. He's healthy. He's clearly healthy after his performance last night. And then the third thing I'll add on is that, the advantage he has is that Teo is obviously struggling to make that weight. And so now, again, he's got to fight Kambosos. Who knows how he's going to come out that fight. Then he's got to make the fight again, make the weight again for the fight. And so I think that, that gives more advantage to Lomachenko, who obviously the weight is easy for him to make. And so, I got Lomachenko in that fight, and I think he understands he has to take calculated risk and start earlier. He definitely started earlier against Nakatani.
Are you aware of if that was a sellout crowd for Lomachenko? Do you know if
I'm not sure. They didn't say it was a sellout crowd, so I would assume it wasn't a sellout crowd because
yeah.
normally when there is, the first thing they say is, "Oh, we have a sellout crowd."
Absolutely.
So
That's why I was wondering because I didn't hear anything about it, but I seen Leonard Ellerby tweet out 16,500 sold for the Tank Davis fight. So it was a
yeah,
sellout. So
yeah. Well, Tank
um,
Davis is a bigger star than Lomachenko. Again, it's let's go back to this Terrence Crawford thing. It's not disrespecting anybody's skill or boxing ability or even their resume, but star power is about consumer interest or public interest, and Tank just has a much larger public interest and following than Lomachenko does. So that's why he gets paid more.
absolutely. And that's why the fight was $80 on pay-per-view. The other thing
Exactly.
I wanted to bring up was I was watching a special part. I didn't watch all of it because
Uh-huh.
the part that kind of got my attention was when they said the night of the fight against when it was Teofimo versus Loma, they said on the telecast or the video special that they put up that there was a glitch in the matrix, which is fine. He was injured, or he said he was injured. I didn't see any surgery scars or anything like that on the shoulder
Yeah.
or whatever it may have been. The part that bothered me about that is when you say something like that, there's a glitch in the matrix, which there may have been. He may have actually been injured. I don't know. I ain't there. I ain't in this corner. But to me, that part of that is just taken away from the performance of Teofimo. And to me, that's dishonest as well.
Again, and here we go again, and I want to show you why race does matter to Jermell Charlo. So Deontay Wilder gets beat by Tyson Fury, and we clearly see gloves are moving and stuff like that. Whatever the water, Breland, oh, excuses. He got to start making excuses. Loma gets beat by Teofimo Lopez. I would say the glitch in the matrix was, Teofimo's uppercuts and left hooks. I would say it was what the glitch was. Loma was very
Right hand.
fearful of stepping into that danger zone like he did against Nakatani. He
Yeah.
had no fear,
Yeah.
and he couldn't turn Lopez. Lopez was on a swivel. He was always there to meet Loma, so Loma couldn't get the angles immediately. He eventually got the angles. He had to feint. He had to even feint to even get the angles that he wanted to pivot. And he finally figured that out. But by that time, it was like the 7th, 8th round. It was too late.
Yeah.
And
And
so, yeah.
Teofimo's right hand was very good too, to the
Yeah,
body.
his right hand to the body, his body work, those short, crisp uppercuts, and he was consistent. Whether he was landing them or not, they were coming. And so the thing with Loma normally frustrates guys and they start missing punches and they abandon their game plan. I give Teofimo credit because whether he hit or missed, he did not abandon the game plan and it kept Loma honest.
Yeah, he kept his poise the whole time. He was
Yeah.
disciplined. It wasn't like he went in there to hunt him down and throw a bunch of wild
Mhm.
shots. He
Yeah.
stayed poised and he stayed within the game plan. He didn't get overexcited.
Yeah.
And at one point you could tell that Tio in that fight around the 9th round, he was kind of like, I don't know if you saw it, but he was nodding and gesturing to Loma like, look, you got to do more. I don't. So if you want it, you got to come in here and get it. He was giving them gestures like you got to come in here and get it.
Yeah, because round 1 through 8, Tio controlled the space. He controlled the distance. And Loma, he looked at Loma like, well, you got to step in the danger zone. I'm at the point now where I can take my foot off the gas. I can save some for the later rounds, the championship rounds. And now you have to come get me. Now, Loma eventually did come and get him and figure it out, but he didn't do enough to win the fight. He started late. And Teo was just very consistent with shooting those short shots that, he was missing a lot of them by a hair. And if he would have connected, it would have done a lot of damage to Lomachenko. So we'll see what the next fight is. I think I still have Loma just because I think Teo is struggling with weight and some other things. And I think Loma starts early. And I just think he catches Teo focusing on getting frustrated and loading up too much, trying to end the night, as opposed to trying to make it a war of attrition. Which I think Tio is probably going to have issues with making the weight, which make him fade in the later rounds. So
yeah, when I was watching some of his training clips, he looked bigger than 130, way bigger than 130.
Yeah, he's put on a lot of. He's just a naturally bigger, thicker guy too.
Yeah.
But it also looks like I don't know if it's the weights or if it's just natural, but he's definitely more muscle bound now than he was last year. To me, substantially, I just noticed it. And, more muscle, you take in more oxygen. And so I just think, I think he's going to struggle with Lomachenko, just like I think he was struggling against Devin Haney, just like I think he was struggling against Tank, but for different reasons with Tank. But definitely the Lomachenko and Haney type guys who are boxers, pure boxers, who have great, defense in the movement. And I would say Haney's defense is even better than Loma's defense. I think they would give him trouble because there's a lot of hit and miss in there, and there's nothing like tiring you out with carrying that muscles and you swinging and you missing.
Yeah,
that takes a lot out of you.
And then picking up your feet and have to reset and have to pick up your feet again and having to reset, and then you throwing and you missing.
And
missing shots.
Loma and Haney, even though they do it differently, they have excellent feet. And so I think that poses a problem. I think the footwork, the movement, the swing and miss game is going to, and then the fact that Till's struggling to make the weight is going to be the difference in their rematch.
Yeah. So have they? I'm not sure if you know, but have they said anything about when the rematch will happen?
No. So what happened was,
well, not rematch, but the Kambosos Lopez fight.
They haven't even said it. Apparently, there are more delays. We'll have to wait until we hear about when that fight's going to be. That fight's going to be pushed back. What I can say is Loma's focus. He was like, after he won, he was focused strictly on Teofimo. He wants his get back, and he's like, oh no, I'll wait. And then Teofimo's dad was there, and Bob Arum was being interviewed, and they brought Teofimo Sr. on, and he watched the fight. I'm pretty sure he was impressed. He saw some things. The reason why he was at the fight, and you and I discussed this. We knew he wasn't fighting Haney. We heard all the excuses Bob Arum was making. And we know the biggest fight they can make is going to be in-house between the rematch and him and Loma. And so we knew we see the writing on the wall. We see that we can read the tea leaves. So it wasn't by accident that Teofimo Sr. was there, and if he happens to step into the interview with Bob Arum talking about the potential rematch. And to which Teofimo Sr. said, "We're down for the rematch. We're down to give you a rematch." Now, obviously, Junior ultimately makes the final decision on that. My guess is after him watching that fight, he won't do it. Now, what Bob is saying is, I'll make sure you get the money you want, but you got to fight Loma. You got to listen to what Bob says. Bob is like, oh, you want the bag? Well, you can get a bag for this fight. I wouldn't give you the bag. I wouldn't give you the bag for Kambosos. I'm not going to give you the bag for Haney for different reasons, because you may lose and Haney's not signed with me. But I will give you the bag for Loma, because if you do lose that fight, which Bob probably thinks T.O. does lose,
everything stays in the house.
It's a win-win for Arum. So either way he wins. So he's willing to spend the money when he knows he's going to get a guaranteed win. That's just how boxing is right now. It's unfortunate. It would be a great fight. My guesstimation is he's going to struggle with Kambosos. He's going to make a bunch of excuses. And he's going to, after Kambosos fight, he's going to make his announcement that he's leaving 135 pounds. And he's going to not fight Loma, and he's going to move it to 140. And he'll fight some 140 pounder.
I'll go along with that, but if that bag is nice, and I think they'll do it in New York too. They'll have the fight in New York, probably Madison Square Garden. Then that's the only way it'll be. You don't think so?
You heard what Bob said. Bob said it should be an international fight. Bob said there's a lot of interest. Here he goes again. And here's why I think the fight won't happen. And I think Bob knows. I think Tio and Bob have had a real conversation. Which is all, again, it's marketing. You got to read through the smoke of Top Tank. You got Senior on there who can't really speak for Junior. Junior makes his own decisions on who's going to fight or not. But I think Bob knows Tio's not going to fight him. Bob knows this already, but Bob needs to sell the media and the public to think it's going to happen, to generate interest, to focus more. Tio's going to fight Kambosos. He may eke out a narrow victory because I think he's struggling to make weight. I think it's going to be a tougher fight than what he thinks it's going to be. And I think he's going to admit, hey, I struggle with the weight. I got to listen to my body. And I'm moving up to 140. And, we already know who he's going to fight at 140. He's going to fight Jose Ramirez. Let's just have a real conversation. That's who he's going to fight.
At 140?
At 140. Jose Ramirez lost to Josh Taylor at 140. You think he'd go up to 147, but Terrence Crawford ain't going to fight Jose Ramirez coming off a loss to Josh Taylor at 147. It's not that I think that's beneath Terrence Crawford, because his team obviously makes horrible matchmaking decisions when it comes to competition. I just think they're going to go a different route. And I think even Jose Ramirez coming off that loss won't be as, I don't think he wants to take that type of L to Josh Taylor and then know he's going to be going near the food to Terrence Crawford. I think he's willing to fight somebody newer to the division like a Tail that's got a name that can give him some shine, where there's some, there's some glory in it for him. He can get himself back on track. He could even fight as a Zepeda potentially. I don't think Jose Ramirez takes on Crawford. And I think if you're Teal, you can't just fight anybody at 140. You got to fight a name. So what better than to fight a former unified champion who lost to the guy that you really want to fight? So in order to make it look good, like Loma fought Nakatani, like, look, I beat Nakatani better worse than Lopez did. So now Teal's going to say, I beat Jose Ramirez worse than Josh Taylor did. Josh Taylor give me that fight. Yeah. That's how I see things going.
Okay. Yeah, I was just thinking that Jose would just move up and then just fight somebody just to keep, keep himself on track before trying to get back into the
But he's gonna vanish into oblivion because Top Tank doesn't have a lot of 147 pounders. That's the problem. Who is he gonna fight? We know he ain't fighting Burge, so that's the problem. And Burge is not even with Top Tank, but he'll fight with Top Tank. But there's nobody with a name. He's at the point now where you're a former unified champion. You can't go fight a journeyman after losing to Josh Taylor. Then now you're irrelevant. Now you gotta find a name. It doesn't mean they gotta be great at 140, which is why I think the Tail matchup is a great matchup for Jose Ramirez, because both of them have names. Tail will be the former unified, undisputed, what they're gonna call it, champion, moving up. They're two Latinos, right? Both with Top Tank. And I just think that's how Bob thinks. Seeing how Bob moves, that's what's gonna happen.
Who would you have in the winner of a Ramirez Lopez fight?
I need to see Teofimo's next fight against Kambosos, not for the weight issues, but I need to see the development in his boxing game. I need to see him be more of a boxer puncher than a puncher boxer. Because if you can't box, you won't be able to keep Jose Ramirez off of you. Jose Ramirez is the bigger guy. He's a body snatcher. He's going to come forward type of guy, front foot type of guy. Teo has to show more boxing skill to be able to defeat a guy like Jose Ramirez, like Josh Taylor did, give him something different to look at, put him back on the back foot instead of the front foot. Because what we know about Jose Ramirez, he can't fight going backwards. He can't fight on the back foot. So Teo had to see that. And I need to see more. I need to see him elevate his boxing acumen before I can say he can beat Jose. So right now, I would still favor Jose even coming off that loss to Josh Taylor. But that could change after watching the Kambosos fight.
I don't know, man. I'm 50-50 with that. I think Lopez could actually get that.
I mean, look, is it possible? Yeah, but I would favor Ramirez. I would favor the guy who's been at 140 longer, who I think is the bigger, stronger guy, who can take a punch too. He's not going to have to deal with that slick southpaw-like stuff. He never got whipped like that until you really saw him fight Taylor. Taylor's a real slick, and he's a big southpaw. He's the same size as Jose Ramirez.
And I hear that. Different. I hear that, but the thing about Teo is this is a fight where he won't have to move too much. Like he can go forward. Like they'll clash.
Well, that's the thing. They'll clash. But here's my problem. Jose Ramirez is the bigger and I think stronger guy. Now, I know Teo moving up, will have to cut that weight. It'll make him maybe potentially stronger. But I'm going to favor the guy that's been there longer, that's shown me that he's got not just the strength, but also the will.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to pick him over Teo right now. Teo's still green. He's young. He hasn't fought enough top comp. Jose Ramirez has the experience advantage. I say it's a 60-40 fight Jose Ramirez. I stand by that until I see something more from Teo in the Kambosos fight, which is purely about boxing.
But it won't. I don't think we're gonna get it out of the Kambosos fight.
I think we will. Kambosos is a boxer who moves, but I think the reason why we're gonna see Teo on the back foot a little bit, I think Kambosos will push him back. I think Teo will try to bully him, try to play a bully in the beginning of the fight. I think Kambosos will weather the storm. Any guy that sparred 250 plus rounds with Manny Pacquiao know what it's like to be on the back foot and survive. I think he'll do it. And I'll say Manny Pacquiao is very good at making people more uncomfortable than Teofimo Lopez. We can say that much. So I'm going to say Kambosos survives it, gets to the later rounds. Then I think Teo gets tired. Then I think Kambosos comes forward. And we get to see what Teo looks like on the back foot. That's how I predict that fight's going to go.
I don't know, man. I don't know about that fight. I would like to see a really good fight between Kambosos and Lopez. But I just think I don't
Kambosos
know.
not gonna lay down, bro.
No,
Kambosos
I'm
not
not
gonna lay
saying
down.
I'm in no way, shape, or
Yeah.
form am I saying that Kambosos is going to lay down. I just think that at some point the sharp punching of Teo may catch up with him and he may get caught in the mix of one of those punches, trying to come forward or throw a jab or something. And he may not know where he is, or he may be out of position, I should say. He may be out of
Yeah.
position and it's going to be very sharp and it's going to be a hard punch.
I'm pretty sure it will be. Kambosos is a pretty well-balanced fighter. I've seen some of his fights. I watched a few more. He's not a guy who's out of position a lot. He's not a guy that overcommits. He's a guy that fights within himself. So I think if Teo's looking for Kambosos to help him out, he's not going to get the help he's looking for. He's going to have to generate and create that opportunity and that opening. And I think Kambosos is going to try to wear him out. He's going to mix it up a bit. And I think we're going to have to see Teo actually box, not just brawl. We're going to see him box. And I think Kambosos will make him box. I think Jose Ramirez will make him box even more. I think he'll hit Jose Ramirez. Jose Ramirez will, I've been hit way harder than this, bro. And I think he keeps coming and he throws those body shots in there. I think Teo's body suspect personally. And I just think we have to see Teo box, man. We got to see him on the back foot. We got to see him set stuff up better. We got to see him pick his shots better. He throws a lot of hard shots. He needs to be able to pick his shots more. They're just things that I think is going to happen in that Kambosos fight, where if he wants to survive that war of attrition, and it will be a war of attrition, I think he's going to have to pick his shots more and be smart about how he goes about his business and box. And he's going to have to set Kambosos up to deliver the heavier shots and not just throw heavy shots all the time because he'll wear out.
Yeah, Kambosos beat Mickey Bay, man.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Kambosos is better than people think. He's not a huge puncher, but he's very consistent. He's like, that water dropping.
This volume.
His volume is the water. He can take a punch, and he's very, very crafty. He's extremely good at the Mickey Bay fight. He's very crafty, and he can fight going forward and he can fight going backwards. And I'm not saying at a super high level, but at least I've seen him do it and execute it. And so we haven't seen Teo fight going backwards. One of the reasons why I think he struggled on the back half of that fight against Lomachenko, he stood in the pocket and was just turning, but Loma was finding those angles, boom, 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 coming in, boom, 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 boom. And I think if Teo would have taken that half a step back, set him up for a counter left hook, where Loma jumps in, he walks into it, much how we say Errol Spence is going to do the Manny Pacquiao. That is the next level I want to see Teofimo come into, because he did not do that in the second half of that Lomachenko fight, which is why he got beat up.
But that's not a guy that knows how to fight on his back foot either.
No, Lomachenko cannot fight on his back foot, which is why he struggled the first half, because he couldn't just jump in there the way he wanted to because he's fear of those punches.
No, I'm saying Teo doesn't fight on his back foot. Like, he don't fight
Teo does not fight on his back foot. I think that's his major weakness. And I think that's why I have Lomachenko beating him now. And if he works on that and he can do it in the Kambosos fight, I can see at least a little bit of it. I'll be a little bit more of a believer. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. All right. On to the main event. The man himself, Mr. Gervonta Tank Davis versus Mario El Azteca Barrios. What did you give Tank on that one?
A++.
You gave him A++. I gave him an A.
I give him A++. I'm gonna tell you why I give him A++. Could he have made that fight a lot easier, a lot shorter? Yes. But what I really enjoyed, what I always enjoy about Tank fights, is that you see he already has it figured out what he needs to do. I love his patience at saying, okay, I know if I take away this guy's jab, if I put my jab up and just keep tapping his front jab, I'm going to get in his head and take it away. Now, granted, Barrios let him take it away. Again, not to keep going back to the same fight, but Pacquiao's going to try to do the same thing to Errol Spence, but it won't work. The jab is still going to keep coming. And Barrios gave up on the jab. Once Barrios gave up on the jab, Tank was able to close the distance. The reason why I give him an A++ is because once Tank computed it and closed the distance, he landed some hellacious, accurate shots on Barrios. And the way he went about his business, I mean, I'm just talking about like the sweet science, the boxing intellect that Tank has. The way he feinted, dropped that lead right hand, got Barrios to drop his lead left hand, and then he went over with that right hook to knock him down the first time. That made Barrios so overly concerned about that lead hand that then Tank was just hitting him at will with that straight left and with those body shots, and he couldn't after that he couldn't get out the way of the left hand. And just his ferocity, his ability to take punishment too, because he took some. I got to get a man an A++, man. And you know, you and I had a discussion about the Floyd thing. I like when, you know, no matter what you think about it, when a boxer is told something, when they're daring to be great and they put it on the line and somebody says, I want to see you be great. I want to see you push it. How many times do we hear guys in corners say, I need you to do more. I need you to push. I need you to go get them. And guys don't.
I'm the coach, though. I'm the coach. Yeah. A guy doing that from outside interference, if it's ever a choppy situation, you're going to fuck it up. It will happen. And it's happened before between them. When Tank and him were, and Coach Calvin Ford, they were talking, and Floyd jumped in, and they were looking at each other like, yo, what's going on here? That you don't want that to happen. And I'm sure Calvin is going to have a talk with him, or maybe Calvin is more of a more conserved person where he'll just say, oh, well, you know, that's Floyd, or those are things that I can accept and I can take on. But you can't have that happening. That has to be between the student and the pupil, and you got to let them have that relationship in the ring. Otherwise, you're going to fuck it up.
Yeah, I agree with you in any other scenario. I think this is the one unique scenario where it doesn't matter. I'm going to tell you why. They know who Floyd is. And they know they don't want to smoke with Floyd either, and, you know, cut them off. It's business. It's still business. And so I think what Tank and Coach Ford, what they've come to an agreement is, look, Floyd gonna say what he gonna say. We're not gonna shush him. We're not gonna get into no drama in the corner, because that's an even bigger distraction. And I'm not even gonna come to that man afterwards and have it get in the press or have Floyd feel some type of way and leak it or something like that. You and I have an understanding of Floyd gonna say what he gonna say, but you know, you and I already have an understanding.
It's gonna get there. It's gonna get there.
We'll see.
It's slowly getting there now, because people are already looking at the post fight and they're going, why are they always interviewing Floyd and not Calvin Ford?
We know why. It's the devil you dance with, right? So part of Tank, while Tank is an amazing fighter, let's be honest, one of the major reasons why he's such a superstar in the sport is because of the relationship and the proximity to one Floyd Mayweather Jr. That's just a fact.
But how did he get there?
He got there by putting in the work and being an outstanding boxer. But at the end of the day, on the business side, there are a lot of phenomenal fighters. Look, Terrence Crawford is a phenomenal fighter. But I think you and I can agree that Bomac ain't doing anything to get him to where Tank is. So that's the difference. And not only is Floyd just a promoter, but he's an all-time great. He's got his own promotional company, PBC, and the media is always going to follow Floyd. And so what Tank is, he's smart. Tank is like, okay, I'm young in the game. I'm going to know my place. Then at a certain point, when I keep taking these risks and doing this, people are going to be like, you know what, you already see it happening. It's already starting to happen. Oh, Tank, you did what Floyd, you did this before Floyd. You did all this and that. You did this and that. And I think then Tank will then get past that eclipse. I think for right now, he's being very well compensated. He's getting all the attention. He doesn't lack the limelight. Everybody wants to follow him. He's going to be the A side in any fight. So I think he likes those advantages over, he weighs the pros and cons, and he sees that the pros are greater than the cons, and he's rolling with it. And I think he already got it worked out with Coach Ford and his team that Floyd going to say something. And I think Tank, what I give Tank, the reason why I give an A++ is Tank is the type of guy who a lot of people talk to him, he listens, but he uses what he can use and he throws the rest of that shit out. And I think what he saw with Floyd is, whether I'm up on the cards or not, whether you interrupted me in my coach or not, you are fucking right though. If I come and get this guy, the glory is going to be greater. As opposed to if I'm thinking, oh, I'm up on the cards, I can just outbox him, I can land a couple big shots and walk away with a decision victory.
They were almost about to argue in that moment when Floyd said that to him. He's like, yo, you're down on the unofficial
scorecard.
And he looked at him like, man, I'm over it. What?
Right. I hear that, but
You don't want
But,
that.
but again, Floyd was 100. On the unofficials, he was down. Now the judges had it differently. I disagree with those scorecards vehemently. Um, but at the end of the day, Floyd didn't say anything that was not true.
Here's the thing about the scorecards, though. Again, this is the same reason why Canelo wins certain fights or majority of the fights, because he has the prestige. He's a guy. He's a glorious guy. He already has everything.
But here's the thing with Tank. I think Tank don't want to win off just because I'm Tank. I'm gonna get the decision. I think Tank is a fucking killer.
Well, we know that. I think it was a lot closer than that. I think it was maybe two or three rounds. You could swing them either way. I don't think it was that wide of a margin, but my grade on that was an A. I want to give him a B plus just because I think Tank should throw punches in volume a little bit more, and going for those sweeping, hard, solid single shots. That's fine. You're gonna get your guy out of there, but it puts you in a situation where you have to do that, and that you have to rely on that. But when you can just bust a guy up with two or three of them, it'll keep you more in a comfortable position, and he'll be more susceptible to damage later on in the rounds like that. It's gonna come a time where that may not work. But I give him an A. He got the guy out of there. I give him an A.
I think Tank and Earl are very similar fighters. They only gonna show you what they got to.
Tank is only showing you what you can take. No one's made him box. No one's made him use his skill set. Errol uses his skill set. It's just that other guys can't force him to do it. And Errol goes basic when you can't do nothing.
I think with Tank, he's dynamic. I think Tank is only going to show what is necessary. I mean, this like offensively, his output. I think if Tank had to throw a bunch of combinations, a bunch of punches, he could do it. But I think Tank calculated that. You heard what he said. If I'd have realized he was that soft, I would have did this earlier. He said that. So I think what he realized is if I land one or two shots well placed, I can hurt this guy and put him on the canvas. And that's exactly what happened. He was right. He was able to land one or two well-placed shots. He did listen to his corner. He got eager, was head hunting. Coach Ford said, look, 2 to the body, 1 to the head. You out there head hunting, you getting off the game plan. Settle down, what'd he do? Came in there, got inside that jab. Barrios couldn't do anything else to keep Tank's closing distance. That big torso's exposed, and Tank with that boom uppercut right. Oh, Barrios bends over, takes the knee.
Yeah, but that was when they was in close though.
Well, that's it. Tank was getting in close. He was closing the distance.
I like the fact that Barrios threw the uppercut with him. Yeah. Tank just turned his head out to the inside and let his rip, because Barrios connected, but it wasn't hard. And I like the way Tank, he just didn't throw it, but he swept it in when he threw his hook. So he cut across all that man body. I know he moved shit all around when he threw that uppercut.
Yeah, he did. And you can see the torque, you can see how he positioned himself. He is definitely a top 5 pound for pound boxer. From just it's not that he has heavy hands, it's his delivery system and it's his IQ that I'm really impressed with. And people, I know Barrios is not, super A-level fighter, but those were huge physical disadvantages to overcome. And Barrios was solid enough to make it challenging.
I like Barrios. I think he's a very good. I think he's a good fighter. I like him.
I think he's a good fighter, and I think he'll be a champion again at 140 at some point. I think there's some things obviously he's got to work on. He's got to work on, what do I do when somebody takes away my jab? Don't let him take away your jab.
Yeah, you gotta stay consistent. But man, he was doing so well. Like he was sticking to the game plan. He was jabbing and he was getting his hands back and putting them up to the distance of where him and Tank was, like that middle distance, and he was jabbing, boop, boop, bop. And then he let the jab just got taken away. But he was still throwing, he was still giving shots out to the body. He wasn't running.
No, he wasn't running. He was there for the smoke. The biggest mistake he made is when Tank used that, entry-level strategy of tapping that front jab hand with his lead hand, trying to take the jab away. Barrios never moved the jab. And I know why Barrios didn't move the jab. He was afraid if he did it, he would get counted over the jab. What Barrios was also afraid of is when he was tapping the jab, he shouldn't let that right hand go. I know he's afraid that Tank can counter it, but here's the thing though. You got the longer arms, you're managing distance, you got to let that cannon go. That guy's tapping. You fight the southpaw, that guy's tapping your lead hand. That right hand can be just as effective as a jab because it's lined up against the southpaw. That's the worst punch for a southpaw is a straight right hand. And Barrios didn't let his hands go when Tank clearly wasn't in striking distance. He was trying to figure out how to get past, come inside that jab. Barrios did not have do a good job of managing the distance and understanding, oh, he's in my striking range, let me let my right hand go. And to me, that's where he lost the fight. That's where he lost that tactically. That's where he got broken down. He got outmaneuvered, outclassed, because once Tank started tapping that hand, he gave up on the jab. He could have even moved the jab. You know, when Tank was doing it, he could have went around it. He could have looped around it. He could have hooked off that.
He could have done a lot. He could have hit him in the shoulder. He could have hit him in the chest. He could have done a lot.
And he didn't do that. And so, but those are things that he can get back in the gym with Verge, and he can fix those things. So I think he's a good fighter. I think that's going to make him a much better fighter. Hopefully he didn't take too much punishment where it took too much out of him. He's a young guy.
I don't think it did. I don't think it did.
Yeah, I was worried about that knee though. That right knee didn't look right right before they stopped the fight, when Tank smashed him up top with that looping left hand.
Oh, and he buckled.
He stepped back and he buckled. You know, I don't think he tore anything. I just hope he was okay. But I just think
he was just worn out. That's why the ref was stepping in, because he buckled. You know, he buckled and everything.
Yeah, because that would have been nasty if he'd have let that keep going. You know, and I think the referee did an excellent job. I think all the referees did a good job on the Showtime card. Even the Lubin Rosario fight.
Let's talk about that, man. I forgot about that. Yeah. That fight was banana. That body work, right man. Now. That Lubin, body needs some work.
Charlo, Twin Charlo and Lubin is going to be a fight of the year in 2022. Fight of the year.
Because there ain't nobody else.
Ain't nobody.
Yeah. I think he might. I think Mel might give J-Rock that fight. I think he might give
J-Rock is not getting that fight for Lubin.
No, I'm just saying. I'm just saying options for him. I think I think those are options.
J-Rock not even trying to fight Charlo. You heard what J-Rock said. Who was that? Was it Ellie? Ellie Segback interviewed J-Rock. Well, what's your plans? J-Rock is like, I had some few setbacks. Because J-Rock is supposed to be on this card. And so J-Rock had a couple setbacks. He's like, man, I'm getting myself back. I'm a fighter guy. Oh, you gonna go up to the top? Nah, I need to tune up. I need to work on some things. So no.
And he dropped his trainer, right? So that might be one of the biggest.
So it's not gonna be J-Rock. It ain't gonna be Banana Rosario. It's not gonna be. You can forget about the whole thing with what's his face?
Hurt.
With her, you can forget that. It's not gonna be Arias. So it's going to be Lubin. After that unification fight, it's going to be Lubin.
You think he's gonna go straight to it? Because I was thinking, man, he'll probably do another.
I think Mel will go right to it, because I think Mel's the type of guy that wants all the smoke, and I think he's going to relish the psychological advantage. Lubin is, and I got Mel winning that fight. Not because I think Lubin can't beat Mel, but because I think Mel is in his head. I think Lubin is so focused, and I think he's dedicated himself. He's done a lot of great things, but he made some big mistakes in that Rosario fight. He was doing very well. He got rocked, and he put himself in position to get rocked. And if that's Mel, Mel's going to finish you. Rosario couldn't do it. He didn't have a skill set. He just couldn't push through and make it happen. Lubin was outboxing him, but then he just got in that danger zone and got rocked. And he's lucky that he didn't get finished. He put himself in harm's way unnecessarily. So he went back to his corner and they went off on him, and I just think you can't make those type of mental errors with Jamel. It happens, but let me tell you something. Yeah, and shit happened that first fight, and look what happened in round one. And see, I just think with Mel, you can't take, especially with how he's elevated his game, you can't take those type of chances.
The knockout in the first fight between Lubin and Mill, they were watching tape of him right before the fight, and that was the adjustment they made.
Yeah.
They said, "Hey,
they see the tendencies."
Yeah, no, they saw it right before the fight. Derrick James said, "Oh, we was watching tape in the locker room, and I told him instead of throwing it over the top, throw it under because he's gonna duck under it because they was watching it, and he's like, oh, he ducks under into it, so."
And so now
exposure, man, like at some point it's just gonna happen. Like you're gonna leave yourself open to something.
And Lubin has fixed that where he doesn't duck as much, but then that's when he got popped over the top by Rosario. And I think Mill can shoot shots under and over. He's gonna figure out how to get to him. And I just think he's in his head. I just think he owns that space in Lubin's head because we can already see how the press conference is gonna go. Lubin's gonna try to play it cool. That was then, this is now. I gotta get my get back. And I just think that Lubin is going to get into the mind. He's going to get into the mind games with Jermell, and I think Jermell's like, what rounds? You know what round should I do? And I did the first round, so what you guys? What you want me to do now? And I just think that back and forth is going to get Lubin the type of guy who gets really emotional and gets charged, and I can tell he's the type of guy that gets in his feelings, and I think his feelings are going to get him in trouble.
I think he should take another fight before the year's over, Lubin.
I definitely agree with that. I think Lubin should be trying to entice J-Rock. I think that's what he should be trying to do. That would be a good fight for him.
Him or her. He needs to get one of those guys.
I think what he should do is, I think he should let J-Rock get his tune up hopefully soon in the next couple months. Then he should let him and J-Rock should get it on, and he should look to fight Mayo at the end of next year. I think Q3 or Q4. I think that's what he should try to do. I think if he hops in there with Mayo now, I think Mayo stops him somewhere around the 8th or 9th round.
But it wouldn't. Do you think it would happen? It wouldn't happen this year. I think it would have to happen next year.
No, yeah, that's what I'm saying. The next fight would be early part of next year, but I think he should do a fight with somebody else instead, and then fight Jermell on the back half of next year.
Okay, because Mayo would still need another fight during the course.
Because Mayo, because look, you say, look, Mayo beats Castano. He's undisputed champion. Maybe that's what he got 4 belts. He could pick anyone in section bodies and say that could be his mandatory, right? He can fight a mandatory fight and get that out the way, and then he can fight. Then I think it makes sense to fight Lubin.
And then depending on how this fight goes for Mill, if it's like spectacular knockout and he doesn't take a lot of damage, maybe he takes another fight at the end of the year. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe he does. Maybe he doesn't. I just think the way it's going to work is he's going to beat Castano. I think that fight is going to at least go 9-10 rounds. Castano can definitely take some punishment. He can take a punch. I think he's going to take a lot of punishment as well. I think Mel eventually breaks him down and gets him out of there and stops him. And then I think, he's going to have a mandatory. And I think he's going to take that mandatory, get it out the way. And then I think he fights Lubin. I think Lubin's team knows, we like that fight, but, man, we beat Banana, we beat J-Rock, then we beat the same guys that Jermell has fought.
So you got to go ahead.
Now it's like there's no doubt. Now you're talking about a undisputed fight. It really is undisputed because can't nobody say, well, what about this guy? He didn't fight this guy.
Right. So
it would make sense to go ahead and get J-Rock out the way, because there's nobody else. And I think at that point, he could, if he did upset Mayo, then he could say, I beat
I beat the guy. Yeah, I beat
the guy. And the other guys who everybody considered to be at the top, I beat them too. I beat Banana Rosario. I beat Julian J-Rock Williams. So I am the lineal, undisputed champion. There's nobody else but me, other than if Mayo want a rematch,
Which would be dope. Which would be dope.
Which I think it would happen. It would be a trilogy fight. They would have to have a trilogy. So to me, that's the way that saga plays out.
Yeah. I didn't see any post fight. I didn't pay attention to any post fight, man. After the fights was over, I was trying to get to the DAZN card, but I noticed that I was falling asleep right around the fight of Pacheco. That's when I started nodding out, and I was like, all right, I'll just pay attention to it on another day because I'm not going to be able to focus on that. But had I not been chopping and cutting and doing all this other stuff for the other episodes that I got on the podcast, I would have tuned in. But I can't. That would be like a distraction. I wouldn't be able to tune in to that. But
I get it.
overall, man, it was a great night of boxing, man. We
What do
saw
you give
some.
Lubin? What do you give Lubin? What grade do you give him?
I give Lubin an A. I give him an A.
I give him a B plus. I think I have to give him a B plus because to be winning a fight like that and outboxing a guy and to be that defensively irresponsible against a guy you know who punches, against a guy who is mostly a right-handed power puncher, to get hit with the punch you should be taking away when you are controlling the fight, he's gotta clean that up.
Jay, somebody's gonna make a mistake, man. Like it's
Look,
gonna
look, look,
happen.
look.
Listen, he got the KO. That's why I'm giving him an A.
He got the KO, but it's against a guy who got knocked out by a jab to the stomach. Okay, like it's against a guy who's been, softened up already. No disrespect to Jason Rosario. So to me, you're dominating, you're outboxing the guy. You cannot. Everything is timing. I get you're gonna get hit sometimes, but you can't get hit at that moment. Like you can get hit earlier in the fight because you're trying to figure stuff out. But once you dominate a guy and you got a guy sized up and you're outboxing him, the rule number one is you take away the best weapon of the other guy. You can never go to sleep that much at the wheel to where that guy beat you with something that you should be taking away because you're outboxing him.
So
that is
give him a
key.
B plus.
I give him a B plus for making that one mistake because he got hurt and he could have lost that fight.
Yeah, he got caught. He got caught. I give him an A because of the difference of the makeup. I got caught, I slipped, but I finished the guy that tried to bust my chops. So
that's why it's a B plus and not a B.
Yeah, I give him an A or A minus, man. But I think I like that fight. I think it was a very good fight.
That was a great fight. It was an entertaining fight. It was a great card.
If I'm being honest, this is my opinion. No disrespect to Jason Rosario. I had Lubin winning.
Me too.
I had Lubin winning. I said the fight would go 11, maybe 12 rounds, but at some point Lubin would box, but Lubin would start standing still, which is what he did. And he would jab and he would throw the hard left hand between the glove to the head. And then it started opening up shots to the body. It was just bound to happen at some point. And if a guy can knock you out with a jab to the body and have you convulsing on the ground, then everybody knows that there's a problem there. There's a weakness.
And that's why I had Lubin winning regardless of what happened. Even if he would have got knocked down by Rosario, I still would have him coming back and winning the fight just because Rosario's obvious weakness is the body. It's obvious. Yeah. He can't take it, hard shots to the body.
And also going off of the attitude that Erickson Lubin had, the way he was talking, and he had on the Marvin Hagler hat. He was saying, you don't wear this hat unless you mean it. Like only one or two people ever wore this hat. And he said, I'm the second or third person to wear it. And I'm wearing it because I mean it. You know what I mean? Like I'm ready to do this. And I didn't hear much coming from the Rosario camp. It was just like they were, there to do a job. So I kind of like from that and the skill set of Lubin, I was like, yeah, he probably means what he says, and he probably wants to go in there and get this guy up out of here, man. But
it's gonna be entertaining when he tries to go the Marvin Hagler route and see what Mel's response is, because Mel has that personality where he's gonna respond to that. Who is he gonna summon? He's gonna say, you can be Hagler all you want to. I'm still gonna be Twin Charlo.
I'm still be Lions only, and if you come forward, I'm gonna fuck you up.
Yep.
I'm not going nowhere. I'm not going nowhere.
I'm gonna do something that Hagler didn't do. I'm gonna be undisputed.
Well, he was undisputed at one point, wasn't he? He had the WBA and the WBC back in those times, right?
Back in those times, I don't think he was undisputed. I think he was maybe short one belt.
It was only two. I think it was WBA and WBC. I think he was undisputed.
Okay. Well,
maybe I could be wrong because
and you know what Mel can say? Mel can say that might have been undisputed then, but it's not now. You need all four. I got all four.
Right, but still,
Mel he gonna have some comeback. So you already know that.
It's still Marvin Hagler. Ain't no Marvin. Ain't gonna be another Marvin.
Oh no, ain't no Marvin Hagler and ever. And I just think that but I think Mel he upsets me in other areas, but I just see him and I see his level, man. I see him waiting for that opponent to show his level to where he's already been disrespected with not being on a pound for pound list. I think Lubin is going to be his foil that's going to get him on the pound for pound list. That's what I think. I
would love to see that be bad blood. I would love to see that be bad blood.
Oh, it's bad blood already.
Yeah. No, but like just like actual like yo, I see him out. Fuck you, no, fuck you, fuck your wife. Like I want to see that, like that Duran Leonard. Like I want to see that dynamic. You know what I
It's
mean?
gonna happen because Mel is gonna. That's gonna be one of the tactics that Mel deploys is I knocked you out in the first round. Like, and I think Lubin is at first he's gonna try to like hey, you trying to get in my head, whatever. That was then, this is now, and I think eventually it's gonna get to Lubin to where he gonna be like F you, and then Mel gonna be like F you back, and then he gonna get Jamal in there. They're gonna do the Lions only roar and all. I just see that being a complete circus
We
at
need
some
that. We
point.
need that. We need
Yeah,
that.
it's gonna
We
happen.
need that.
He's gonna sell the fight, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because Mel gonna want that to be a pay-per-view fight.
Absolutely.
So that's why I think Mel beats Castano. That's not a pay-per-view fight. I think he takes a mandatory. That's not a pay-per-view fight. Lubin beats J Rock, and then you say, hey, these are two top guys I went to before. We see what Mel is doing. And I think they make that a pay-per-view fight and put another really good fight on that card to strengthen it, to make it worth the pay-per-view.
From what I understand, there was a chance of the Castano fight being pay-per-view, and they said Mel told him no.
No, which is right, because he's not there yet. I think he needs, once he is the undisputed, then at that point, it's like, okay, we get it from a boxing perspective. We saw they got keys to the city. We saw that big in Houston.
Build them
Now
up.
it's about, now how do you build them up even more? And so I think I see that definitely happening. And I see him and Lubin being a pay-per-view and in the back half of 2022.
Yeah, well, they need to start building up on Lubin too, then, because
But they're building him up with him stopping Rosario, with him, summoning Marvin Hagler, the whole story behind that. I just think that's going to build intrigue, and I think that's going to get a lot of people in the boxing community into it. And I think there's going to be a lot of talk, and I think they're going to sell it hard. I think that starts like literally now, and then I can see the pay-per-view. I can see them both walking into a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Next fall.
Salute to Marvin Hagler. He's one of my favorite fighters of all time.
Likewise, one of my top 5 favorite fighters.
Yep, I have hardly seen in the history of boxing a guy with an engine like him. Regardless of the situation, hurt or not, he still came forward, because the whole point was, you may hurt me, but you can't stop me.
Yeah.
Destroy and destruction. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of Holyfield in him. And sometimes he would deliver his best performances when he would get rocked or hurt, and you think he's out of it, and the next thing you know, man, just
yeah. Because against Mugabe, they said Mugabe would be too strong and powerful for him, and he went in there and he put Mugabe out, and that was a hell of a fight.
That was a hell of a fight. Yeah, to me, that was a top 10 fight of all time, in my opinion, that I've seen.
Yeah, that's one. And if I name another one, it would be Evander Holyfield against Dwight Muhammad Kawhi. That was crazy. Have you seen that fight?
I've seen that fight, yes. Oh, I mean, that's what I'm talking about. Holyfield.
Because you brought up Holyfield, I was like, oh shit, and that's definitely shit. That was a crazy fight.
Yeah, Holyfield was in a few crazy fights.
Yeah.
Because he could take it, and then he could take it, and then a lot of things with Holyfield was so cool about him is that before he would give it, he'd be taking it.
Mm-hmm. Or sometimes I think he would just, like with George Foreman, he thought he caught George slipping with the mongoose defense from Archie Moore, putting the cross block and putting your hands out to cross parry and cross jab, all that stuff. And he caught Foreman in a stretch where Foreman didn't see the punches coming, because you're open when you do the cross block. And he wham, he slammed him in a big George, and George came back with 2, like boop, boop, and you just seen Holyfield like, fuck. This big motherfucker hit me with that shit. He said, I think that's when he said he went back to the corner. He asked her, did he knock all my teeth out and everything?
Yeah.
And he's like, man, I'd never been hit that hard before. But
Foreman has some sledgehammers.
Yeah. Salute to George Foreman too, because no doubt, for him to beat Michael Moore, he had to act like he was tired and old, and he couldn't punch and hit hard no more. So he lured Michael Moore in. If anybody watching that fight, go watch the Michael Moore.
He got him comfortable. He got him comfortable. Same thing in a sense with the rope-a-dope, a little bit different, less extreme. But what Ali did to Foreman, lured him in, had him thinking he was worn down. Even though Ali obviously took a lot of punishment.
A lot.
But
Yeah, George just lured him in enough to get him right where he needed him to be, and he actually threw that punch harder than Michael Moore knew it could come through there, and he fucked his ass up. That was an awesome fight, man. That's one of the great fights I like watching as
That
well.
should be the strategy that Beterbiev deploys against Canelo.
Interesting that you say that, but I think because Canelo is so cautious and understanding of what he's doing in there, I don't think that will work.
Yeah, I think Canelo would. I think Canelo has been, his head got big about his power. Oh, Canelo's power. And I think he hits him. I think a Beterbiev, and again, Beterbiev is not a guy who backs up, right?
No,
So
that's why Canelo likes that.
So right. So I think Canelo's like, if I back him up, if I'm Beterbiev, I practice taking some shots. Oh man, backing up, because then Canelo's gonna think, oh, that's a sign I got this guy. Now Canelo's not gonna jump in like Wilder does sometimes, which I think Deontay won't do that. I think Deontay has learned in the past about jumping in with wild punches. I just think that he's gonna. I think Beterbiev, if he implies a strategy, he's gonna set the trap of luring Canelo in, because I think he's gonna really struggle. Because if the fight goes the distance, Canelo wins, because I think Canelo outboxes and outpoints him. And I think Beterbiev is going to struggle to chase Canelo all night long. And Canelo can fight off the back foot. He can. He fights better off the front foot to me, but he can fight off the back foot for sure. We saw that.
You think fights better off the front?
I think he does fight, but I'm going to tell you why. Because he has to do less fighting off the front foot. He can be the aggressor. He can walk a guy down. And I mean, if you say, well, what was more taxing, the fight against Billy Joe Saunders or the fight against, Triple G? Well, the fight against Triple G was more taxing. He had to do more fighting off the back foot because Triple G made him fight off the back foot sometimes. Billy Joe Saunders couldn't do that.
In what fight? In the first fight with Golovkin?
In the first fight with Golovkin back up.
I disagree. Because I think that Canelo was going back because he wanted to go back, not because of anything that Triple G was doing. It was just because he wanted to go back and be the boxer. He came out and started and tried to box him immediately. I don't think that was anything Golovkin did.
But I think he did feel the power. I think he did get hit with some big shots, and I think he was like, okay, can I not go forward? Yeah, but I think if I go backwards, I can take a little bit less punishment and give some out and set some traps, which is eventually what he did. I don't think he says, this is what I don't think he says, well, I could go forward and do what I wanted to going forward and take no risk. I think he realized there was some risk, and he was like, I take fewer risks fighting off the back foot, walking this guy into punches. I think he realized that. He may do that against Beterbiev, but I mean, that's the obvious trap he's going to set for Beterbiev, because Beterbiev is a come forward only fighter.
That's a fight he will. I think that's a fight he would like, man, just to be on his back foot and be able to deliver.
A fight he would like. The problem is Canelo's not used to people. Since he's fought Floyd, he's not used to people countering his strategy, right? Canelo outsmarts a lot of guys. What a Beterbiev says, okay, I'll play your game. I'll come forward. You'll throw your little counter shots. You'll pick your shots. You'll sneak a little soft one here and then come hard up top and go down to the body. I'm going to walk through it because I'm the Russian tank. I'm going to come in there. I'm going to do all this. You're going to slip some punches. Yeah, I'm going to, then you're going to hit me with something. You will hit me with something. And then I'm going to be a little different. I'm going to back up a little bit. Maybe think about wanting to keep coming in. Then Canelo's like, seventh, eighth round, I'll back this guy up.
Daylight.
Right, but see, Canelo will. Now, I'm not saying he's going to jump in recklessly, but Beterbiev's opportunity is Canelo will walk in. He will walk in. And the question is, how does he walk in? And can Beterbiev find that? Can Beterbiev slam the door right when Canelo is walking through that opening? To me, that's the strategy. That'd be my plan B against Canelo. Obviously, my plan A is to walk forward and see, okay, we're at 175 pounds. I'm a bigger, stronger guy. I'm gonna hit you everywhere and just see if you can take it. Just like Canelo does to other guys. I'm gonna walk you down, I'm gonna hit you everywhere and see if you can take it. And if he can't break him down, or if he's too elusive, then I think that's what I would do, because Canelo, he'll do it. Once he thinks he has you hurt. Again, he's not reckless, but he will walk through that door opening. And I want to see somebody, slam the door as he was trying to walk through it.
Canelo is a smart, accurate puncher, counter puncher. His last few fights, he has had to come forward. Canelo does not like to come forward. He has gotten used to coming forward because these guys they don't want to come
Yeah.
forward, so he knows he
Yeah.
has to come and get them.
Yeah, true. Now I think we're better BF to a lesser extent, and notice that's why he's calling them out. He's not calling David Benavidez out. They haven't figured Benavidez out. They figured, okay, we walk forward to Benavidez, he ain't backing up. David's not the type of guy, oh, he can't fight going backwards or fight off the back foot, so he's gonna back up. No, you're gonna have to kill David Benavidez right where he's standing.
You have to back David up. There's no other way.
There's no backing him up. You gotta knock him down,
Yeah.
keep him off his square. Now the next thing is, so obviously we're gonna counterpunch him, pick our shots, fight off the back foot against Benavidez. The problem with that is the punches keep coming from Benavidez. They're coming from different angles. He's a bigger, stronger, longer guy. He's got really, really quick hands. Very, very fast hands. I think he's, I don't think at that size, I don't think Canelo will see the type of hand speed from anybody than the hand speed he'll see from Benavidez. And no. I think that's what they're not saying. Oh, once we're undisputed, oh, you guys say Benavidez is the top guy? Okay, we're going to take him next too. And then that's going to end the dispute of who the best at 168. See, he ain't saying that. Oh, I'm moving to 175 because they ain't figured out how they're going to deal with Benavidez. They don't think they can win that fight going backwards. I'm telling you, they can't. If they thought they can win it, they would call his name. People who they think they can beat, they call their name.
They ain't, listen, I keep telling people this. Benavidez is a puzzle that I don't think people are gonna solve for a while.
No,
because
it's only one guy.
Boxing him, he can box. Like he can box, and if he can't like box you, he'll just throw a shotgun jab to bust up your face. And then when you start looking for that, then here comes the rest of that shit. And if he starts stepping inside, the variation of combinations and speed and quickness and all the other stuff he can do will start to take an effect. The only thing that you have David Benavidez on for now is defense. He will get relaxed on defense and he will allow shots to come in, or he'll be looking, he won't pay attention to the shots that are coming to him sometime. But I think that's because he's so much bigger and stronger than people that he doesn't fear the incoming that's coming to him. He's able to just give out more because of his will and aggression. But
yeah, he's been sparring, and I get it, bigger gloves, whatever, but he's been battling guys since he was 16, 17 years old, right? Before he even came into his grown man strength, and he was able to take the shots. I've seen him take some shots in his fights. Uzcategui is a big puncher as well. I think that's going to be an interesting fight. I think David destroys him, but I think that's going to be an interesting fight. And I just think, this is the way to beat David is, to me, you either got to be Zerto, where you're a southpaw and you can stand toe to toe and just go all night in a war and make it a war of attrition with Dave and just outpoint him. Or I think you got to be a slick boxer like a Caleb Plant. The problem with Plant is that he doesn't have the power to make David respect him. David will walk through those punches just to come and get you. He'll take 3-4 punches just to give one. If Plant had more power, he would be a lot more dangerous because he's very, very slick defensively. He's got great feet. He's got good hand speed. But again, we question the power, and I think that's going to be the issue he's going to have with Canelo. Is I think he can hang in there boxing wise. I just think he's not going to make. He's got to give something that's going to make Canelo respect him.
To anyone that's listening that think, oh, you can work out and get power. You can, but the power that you're getting from working out is just strengthening the thud of the punch that you have. You're naturally born with actual power. Guys like guys that can naturally punch like Kovalev and Wilder, George Foreman, Tank. What's the guy's name that I was just thinking about? I just forgot the guy just that quick. But there's a Thomas Hearns. These are guys that can just crack. Like they can throw a punch from wherever they are, and when it lands, it sends you out. Like that's just pure grown power. You can't practice that. There's no way you can.
Same thing.
Pacquiao. Yeah, but you can't practice that. Like they can fortify what you have, but you can't practice power. Even down to like if you look at Jermell Charlo and the rate that he's been knocking guys out, maybe there was just something wrong with the strategy. Derrick James just fixed it. He just said, hey, sit down on the punch. Stop moving and sit down on the punch. We'll work on the technique, but you have to sit down on it. Yeah, there's certain things that you can do, but when you can actually crack, it don't take much. Like people will move out the way of punches and say, I can feel it when it went by me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well,
So
you know, I mean, guys fight guys. Everybody knows who can punch. Like you see it, you do the eye test, and you hear guys talking about it. You know, if it's a Pacquiao, his hand. I mean, he throws the most awkward, unorthodox way of delivering punches. He don't have to sit down on his punches. He could be coming forward doing crazy stuff. It
and
has such a
land.
dramatic and land has a dramatic effect and impact
Yeah.
with the power. And we obviously seen Wilder. You know, Wilder touches people with his right hand, and they fall, either go to sleep.
Hit a
It's just
motherfucker in the
God
middle
given.
of the forehead and knock him out.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, hit him anyway. He punched through the gloves and knock him down. And I mean, it's
Yeah.
just a different. It's a difference between power and strength.
Yeah. So
You can get
in a situation for Caleb, Larry Wade, Coach Larry Wade, I'm sure he will work on the power and being able to sit down on punches, but I don't know. I don't know about that.
I think the key for Plant in that fight is, look, you're not all of a sudden going to get power or in one training camp get a bunch of strength. We would have had to see strength in his last fight, and it clearly wasn't really there. He's going to have to Floyd Mayweather. He has to use the exact same blueprint. Now it's going to be a lot harder because Canelo's older, bigger, stronger, more experienced, better. But he's going to use the same blueprint, being a bigger guy than Floyd. He's going to have to fight exactly the same type of fight, be able to go to distance, outpoint him, and frustrate Canelo, and not run, but use effective movement, mesmerize him. And at a few points in the fight, the way he can get Canelo's respect, and it's going to be very hard because Canelo's very good, is he's going to have to hit Canelo with something he doesn't see coming.
True, but I don't know, Jay, man. Like either that's gonna go 12 rounds or he gonna fuck Caleb Plant up, man.
I mean, again, money is he's gonna fuck Caleb Plant up, and it's gonna be body. It's gonna be a body shot. That's just, you know, if you asked me to put my money up, I would put my mortgage. You know, I ain't got one, but I'll put it at Canelo ends him with a body shot or a left hook upstairs.
Yeah.
That's just what I think. Now, if Caleb is in tip-top shape, he does have the faster hands. He does have the better footwork, but Canelo has educated feet too, to a certain extent. He can cut the ring off. He's become very good and adept at cutting the ring off, especially now. But there are things Caleb can do to offset that, to get Canelo off balance, to get him leaning. But he's got to be in such great shape. He's got to be in the best shape of his life.
Yeah.
When he fights the Canelos or the David Benavidez's, because it's going to require a lot of movement. Look, he moved a lot against Uzcategui, and he faded a little bit. He got to be in way better shape than that. Now, he hit Uzcategui. He hurt Uzcategui because he hit him with shots he didn't see. And Canelo and guys like Canelo Benavidez are way better than Uzcategui. However,
Facts.
Plant could get better. And there are opportunities to where he can hit Canelo and get him in positions, much like how Loma did Nakatani. He should really watch. The effectiveness of Loma is not that he is a super strong, you know, he is strong, physically strong, but he don't have one punch knockout power. But it's that he hits guys with so many shots, and a lot of those shots they don't see coming because they're coming from awkward angles. He's turned you. Next thing you know, you do something, he misses, and then after you finish your shot, you looking this way, and he's down here, and then boom, a shot comes up. He was hitting Nakatani with those type of shots, and did so much damage. Caleb Plant has to have that type of strategy, which is hard. Again, because Canelo's rarely out of position, but there are ways that you can, like Floyd did, get him overzealous, get him over aggressive, and set him up. You're not going to necessarily walk Canelo into something. I think he's too smart for that. But you can get angles on Canelo. He's going to be happy because his feet aren't. He can cut the ring off, and his educated feet to cut the ring off. But at the point of attack, his feet are not that good, in my opinion. And I think that Plant's feet are that good. And I think he has an opportunity with the right type of upper body movement compared with his foot movement to hit Canelo with shots that he can't see coming, but they got to come from weird angles.
Yeah, it I think it would excuse me, it would have to be the variation of punches, the speed and the power. Like the first two are throwaways, and the third one is a punch that he sits on. Yeah, that's a punch that he sits down on. But the only thing about that, again, is
Canelo can counterpunch. And when he counterpunches, it's a knockout counterpunch.
Yeah, if it's not a knockout, Canelo's punches when he counters are shocking, thudding punches. It's to
They
make you
are.
go, yo, I don't want to do
that, and it completely throws the timing off, and it disrupts everything that you're trying to do. Now, that's why I think Caleb can't be 1, 2, 3. He's got to mix. You got to use feints. He's got to mix up stuff that he does. He can't always throw combinations. I think that's going to be Manny's problem with Errol. Manny's always it's not it's not that. And I think that's Errol's going to time him. See, he likes to come in. Oh, you like to throw 3, 4 punch combinations. And they go, okay, I see you. All right. And I think the key to the fight is Plant is going to have to throw a multitude of different combinations from different angles. And it can't be the same amount of punches within the combination. Sometimes it is 2 punches. Sometimes it is 4 punches. One time it may be 5 punches if you can get them out of position. But you know something's coming back.
Yeah.
So you got to be ready. You got to be ready for that.
And I think it should be behind the jab too, because Caleb got a nice long jab. I think
he got a nice long jab. Again, I rate his jab right behind Benavidez's because Benavidez just has so much power to his jab. But Caleb has a nice stiff jab. It's very accurate. It's very quick. It's got to be behind the jab. But here's the other thing about Canelo: you make him miss that counter, but you got to make him pay. What enough guys don't do is that once he misses, they don't make him pay. And I think that's why he's having an issue with Benavidez, is because I think whether he lands or he misses with Benavidez is gonna make you pay because he's throwing his hands.
Yep. And I don't think with Benavidez, I don't think he's gonna because I do know Canelo likes to throw wide hooks early in the fight just to see if he can catch you. I don't think David is gonna. I think David will stand there and try to parry it and take it and and throw a shot off of it.
Oh, he'll catch and shoot.
Yeah,
he'll catch and shoot for sure. And David doesn't throw wide punches. The other thing that's dangerous about throwing wide punches with David, if you're the shorter guy and you got the shorter arms, it's really dangerous against Benavidez because his punches are very straight, very crisp, very short. They come from a lot of different angles. He throws hooks, hybrid hooks, but it's all fast and it's never wide. If you look at when Benavidez punches, his arms, and it generates massive power because it comes from his core. All his punches, they're variations, but they come from the core. You never see Benavidez outside of his core. And I think that's Maul's problem. Maul throws a lot of punches. I mean, his 1-2 is good, but he's got to work on throwing different types of punches and variations of punches that are connected to his core. He's very strong physically, but a lot of times he'll get wide. And that's why Montiel was catching him with those left uppercuts all day long. He was catching him with those straight lefts because Maul was wide. He was too wide. And Benavidez is never wide. Benavidez is never wide. Everything is
down a pipe.
Then, boom, body, boom, boom. But the elbows are always, you never see Benavidez. Benavidez, when he fights, his elbows are never out here. His elbows are always right here. Always.
His elbows only come out when he got you hurt, as far as I've seen.
Yeah, I mean, it's all right here, and it's boom, boom. And then he's a big guy, and he throws that, and he's got heavy hands. He's got so much hand speed, and everything's coming at you. And, the thing with David makes him different is all his punches are thudding, but he does have one punch knockout power. He does, if he catches you. And so I just think that's definitely the most dangerous fight for Canelo. I think Plant has to be perfect, has to have a little Loma in him with the angles to get Canelo. And I don't think because I haven't seen him. He did it against Uzcategui, but Canelo was way better than
I think Coach Larry Wade is going to take that conditioning up a level. I think he's going to have to get it past Sean Porter level because that's one of his biggest guys. But
he's going to have to die in camp and be reborn and be reincarnated. Like he's going to have to be reincarnated.
Yep,
in order for him to
develop an alter ego.
Yeah, he's going to have to, even to last the full fight with Canelo, win or lose, he's going to have to be reborn. He just is.
Yeah, it's gonna be a hard outing, and I'm not saying that because I don't believe in Caleb Plant. I just know what I'm looking at, man. Like Canelo, he's had time, and people don't understand this. In 50-something fights, these last 4 to 5 fights, he's just developed so much more because he can't come forward on his front foot. Well, these last 4 or 5 fights, he's had to come forward on the front foot. Oh, he can't. He only counter punches. Well, he's showing that he knows how to jab. Oh, he only uses his left hook and his right hand. Now he's throwing punches not just to certain spots on the body, but he hits anything now. And
Yeah,
he wore Caleb Smith out with that, just
yeah.
hitting
He
the
just gonna
arm
break
and
you
all that.
down. And he is the best, and I wish Maul would look at this. He is the best, and no matter where he hits you, he could be hitting the elbow, a shoulder, a bicep. That's a lot of injuries guys suffer fighting Canelo. He is the best at realizing I'm gonna target an area and I'm gonna wear that area out.
I gotta hit something.
It don't have to be your ribs. It don't have to be your chin. It don't have to be your temple. It could be your shoulder. It could be your bicep. It could be your tricep.
It could be a hip because
It could
getting
be a
hit in the
hip.
hip, that shit hurt.
It could be any of that. But I'm going to keep targeting that area. And that's another way he breaks people down. And so I think that's what he does. The Triple G we used to do it to not as calculated as Canelo, but he would do it to eventually just break through people's shells with those hard punches.
Yeah. But that's what you're supposed to do. If you get close enough, you got to hit. They say always, if you're close enough to him, hit something. I don't give a fuck what it is.
And David Benavidez does an excellent job of doing that. And I think it would behoove Charlo to start working on that himself. Sometimes you're not like with a guy like Montiel who's tough and who's awkward. You're not going to, and I think he got caught into catching him with clean shots. But the thing is that when a guy's awkward and you catch him with clean shots, you got to make something else hurt. Okay, you can take it upstairs, you can take it to the chin. But what if I take away his left hand? I'm getting hit with left uppercut. What if I target that left shoulder? What if I just throw my right hand and I'm just killing that left shoulder all night long? You got to think about stuff like that to take something away.
That's why I like the variation in punches from Errol, from David Benavidez, from Jamel, because Jamel, like, he used to be straight down the pipe, but now he does it from different angles and it's different punches that he throws now to catch guys. Because I heard a couple guys say, I didn't see that punch coming. I was like, all right, so it's proof that he's been working on the way that he delivers his combinations and variations of punches. But these are going to be some hard fights. I wish Caleb Plant well. I'm not saying that because I don't have no faith in him. I just have who I have, and I already placed my bet. So
the skill set is there. I think if it was just strictly skill set,
the skill set is there. It's not that. It's just I think it's the strength and conditioning that I'm worried about.
It's the strength and conditioning, and of course the power.
Correct, the power of Canelo. So he has to work on punch resistance. So he has to be in there with guys that are heavyweights, which I'm sure he's in there with. And by the way, we're talking about this fight, but this fight hasn't even been signed yet. We're going into July.
So here's what I think. Now we're talking about this. I don't think he gets the fight.
So who do you
let me tell you why I don't think he gets the fight. Al is not gonna say you're gonna come to snatch this belt that we got in this division and just walk away with it. Now you want this belt? We need a couple big paydays, or 2 or 3. Like I told you before, I think if he gets Plant, no, you're going to have to fight Benavidez. There's nowhere in the world I think Al lets him come to PBC, which it would be a PBC fight. It'd be definitely Fox pay-per-view. There's nowhere in the world Al and Floyd let him walk in there and just get Plant, take the belt, and walk right off into the sunset. It ain't going to happen. I think the fight doesn't happen because I think they say, no, we need a 2 or 3 fight deal. And I think Canelo's like, well, I'm independent. I'm not signed to anybody. I'm not signing a 2 or 3 fight deal. And the translation of that is, I don't want to fight David Benavidez. Because you can't say you want to do it because you don't fought 2 or 3 fights over on the zone. So you're lying. So to me, if I'm Al, that's what I do. And then what I do is I say, well, Canelo obviously didn't want Caleb Plant. He didn't want Caleb Plant so much because he didn't want to fight Benavidez. So obviously he didn't want the 2 top guys on 168. Now you ruin the whole narrative for Canelo. Now it's not like he just ducking one guy.
Because in that, you can't say that they weren't willing to pay you. Paying you ain't the problem.
No, paying you the problem. You just wasn't willing to take certain fights. So, okay, yeah. And Canelo and Reynoso, the problem is they made a very, very huge error. They showed their hand by saying, oh, we want Bivol or Beterbiev. But Beterbiev even more. So you're already telling people, oh, once we get unified and be undisputed and do a Mexican parade for Canelo and build a museum in his honor, then we're going to go take another guy that we think could be, we think we got a chance of beating at 175. We're not even going to talk about Benavidez. See, I don't think Al lets it happen. I think Al is like, no, let's truly see who's the best at 168. Now, Al is never going to say it because he's not going to say it, but Sam Watson, all the other guys on PBC, they're going to get there. I'm telling you, it's going to be the messaging. Look, Yeah. Caleb Plant has the belt. But we all
Zerto,
know
Zerto even said it like, yo.
Yeah, Zerto said, all the other fighters said, everybody
Canelo,
knows it. Everybody
he said Canelo would beat him when he was young. He said, I don't know about now. He said David's better.
Well, no, Zerto said he thinks David would win.
No, that's okay. Well, I didn't hear that part. I heard him say like, I don't know if he beats David now, but at a younger guy, yeah.
Yeah, Zerto said, because Zerto was like, I think he beats him, and Zerto was like, the best fight for David is eventually if we fight.
Yeah. Can you
at 175? Zerto said it, and then they went to David and asked David. He's like, man, we're cool, but no, I definitely want to scrap. He said, I definitely see that fight in the future. He said, I'm young, I'm 24. Yeah. I want to clear out 168. He said, then I'll come see him at 175. So I can see that fight happening 2-3 years from now. Yes, but at the end of the day, I think Al, that's why you ain't heard nothing. Al and Plant is okay with it if you think about it. Plant is like, man, I'm gonna miss a payday. But Al is so slick and so shrewd. Al was like, okay, maybe that, but we'll get you 2 fights where you'll get the money you would have had in Canelo. We'll make sure you're good. But from a company standpoint, we can't just let Canelo come in here and get that strap for nothing and walk away. And he's got the predicate because he'd be like, okay, why can he fight Billy Joe Saunders? Why can he fight Abner Yildirim? Why can he fight Callum Smith, but he can't fight? Why do those guys see Canelo don't have an argument? What did he do to deserve? How can Callum Smith and Billy Joe Saunders get a fight, but David Benavidez can't get one? See, and so now it changes the whole narrative. And I don't care what DAZN does and what Eddie Hearn says and all this other stuff. It's like, it's going to make Canelo look like, oh, you just want to fight Eastern European and Western European fighters. You don't want to fight Mexicans or Americans or Black people. You won't do it. And so now it's like, okay, yeah, you're willing to take the white boy. All right, you want to take Caleb Plant, but take Benavidez too. These are the top 2 guys at 168. If you want to truly be undisputed and be great and prove you're the best, there's a dispute. If you talk to fighters, everybody else, they think David Benavidez is actually bad. Even though Caleb Plant has the IBF belt, everybody thinks David Benavidez is the best. And he's 2-time WBC champion and nobody ever beat him.
Yeah. And I think the majority of us that are knowledgeable about boxing will say the same thing.
Yeah, that fight doesn't happen. And so what Canelo does is Canelo goes to Eddie Hearn, give this guy a bag, give him what he wants. And Caleb Plant still says no. We're going to find out how bad Canelo wants to perpetrate the fraud of being undisputed at 168 and avoid Benavidez if they try to lure a Plant over to DAZN and pay him big money.
No, because you still got to talk to Sam Lukowitz. I think that's his manager. And Sam, all Sam is going to do is go like, yo, this is what they said, Al.
Yeah, and exactly. And so Al's got that all locked up, and Plant is very loyal to Al, and he trusts Al. And I think, again, from a strategic standpoint, that fight is not going to happen. It's not gonna happen.
I'm gonna say this, man. There's a lot of money that would be missed if they pass that up. There's a lot of money that would be missed. You could still do that in a Texas stadium or not. Yeah, a Texas stadium or Tennessee. You can go somewhere in Tennessee, the Titans or something like that.
And if you Al, you like, look, Caleb's a young champion. David's young. Okay, Canelo. We heard Canelo want to go to 175 and fighting, Russians and Europeans. Okay, he can do that and come back. When he's ready to face the best at 168, he can come back. We'll be here, and I think that's going to be the PBC.
But I think it's position. So much money. Like, you would really pass up that?
I would definitely, if I'm Al, I definitely pass that up. Because what else is Canelo?
No. Well, I'm saying Canelo, you would really pass that up because it's so much money to be made.
Canelo does not want David Benavidez, and we know it. If he wanted David Benavidez, he would say something.
Called him out
notice he only said something after Charlo after the Montiel fight. Because he calls out wherever he sees weakness. And so he doesn't see weakness that he feels he can exploit and have the best advantage to win against Benavidez. He never calls Benavidez's name ever. Mm-mm. And so if you're Al knows the game. Oh, you never say my man name over here. I wonder why. Well, we know why. So no, there's no way in the world I'm gonna let you walk down the street and not see these 2 guys.
And
So,
Al reaches out to these guys too. Yo, you
oh
can
yeah.
can you beat him? Hell yeah, Al, I'll fuck
See,
him up.
and the reason I think it's already the predicate is already laid. I think that's why Benavidez is so calm about everything. Because Benavidez is like, look, I'm gonna get mine regardless. Either Canelo gonna have to come see me after he beat Plant, or if he ducks the situation, really because of me, then he doesn't get Plant. Where else does Plant have to go but me? See, so David is like, I'm good. I'm gonna get the strap. I'm good regardless, and I can go get everybody else. Canelo's going to drop the belts. If you want to keep him, you're going to eventually have to see me, maybe even on the backside. Now, but you can't let Benavidez. You think he's going to be worse at 26 than he is at 24? No.
Fuck
So
no.
the time for Canelo to fight him, no better time than now. But I say Canelo ducks him, and I say Canelo will duck him and will not get that Caleb Plant fight. And I think Eddie Hearn and all the mainstream media and old media will spin it all they want to and make it all blame Al. And I think the PBC will be like, they're going to say, well, man, we have an issue here. So why can in the zone he can fight Billy Joe Saunders and Callum Smith, but he can't fight Caleb Plant and David Benavidez?
What's wrong with this scenario?
And I'll be like, okay, well, show me. Let's have a real conversation. Do we think Billy Joe Saunders and Callum Smith are better than David Benavidez and Caleb Plant? Boxing is about, if you want to be pound for pound,
No.
it's about fighting the best. So I would say go ask around, and do people think these two guys are better, or do they think the other two guys he beat over in the UK are better? Yeah, no, we all know. So I think, again, Canelo's going to lose that one too. Much like Bud is losing, the messaging campaign because of his fights and how he missed the Pacquiao fight and all that. The same thing is going to end up happening to Canelo. He's going to have to take this fight. Now, if he does.
If you were to send those two guys from PBC, David Benavidez over there, David Benavidez and Caleb Plant over to the zone, they would clean out the same. No, I'm just saying. No, just listen to what I'm saying.
Yeah,
they would clean out those same guys with no problem.
They would have did the exact same thing. Actually, so Plant would have beat both of those guys by decision easily. He would have outpointed them, made them look bad. Caleb Plant would have beat Callum Smith, and he would have beat Billy Joe Saunders in a unanimous decision.
I think he would have stopped Caleb Smith.
I don't think he stops Caleb Smith because I'm just not a believer again in Plant's power. I think he embarrasses them and he outpoints them in a unanimous decision. I think David Benavidez stops both of them earlier than Canelo does and inflicts even more damage and pain than Canelo did.
Absolutely. Well, we know what Dave gonna do.
To me,
I just think that if Caleb had it in his mind to use all the speed and everything that he has and the movement, I think he could just fuck up Callum Smith and do the whole Pacquiao situation and just wear him out. But
and here's the cool thing that Al could do. See, here's the people don't understand: it's chess, not checkers. Al could be like, okay, well, since you guys think that the UK guys are so good, Billy Joe, Callum, you fought Canelo, come over here and fight David Benavidez. We'll pay you. Come over here and fight David Benavidez, and let's see how good you are. We saw what Canelo did to him. Let's see what David will do to him. Yeah. See, and you and I know neither one of them are taking that fight. They'll say, oh, well, I'm hurting my eye socket. I'm thinking about retirement. Callum Smith will be like, oh, I'm moving up to 175. So we already know where the excuses are coming. They're already built in. So at the end of the day, it still goes to the main point. The common denominator is Canelo don't want to fight David Benavidez.
We know that. We see
that. That's, to me, that's the play. Notice Caleb Plant is really, 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 really quiet. Caleb is chilling. I think he knows what the play is. And I think Caleb says, okay, yeah, me and David Benavidez is a big fight too. And I can still get a bag. And I know Al's going to look out for me because I see the company play. And Caleb Plant's a company man. I noticed that about him. So I just think
Caleb don't say shit, man. He just stick to what
he just stick to the game plan. Yeah. So because of the way he's not getting out of character, and then I look at how now Benavidez is carrying himself, the maturity, he's not sweating it because I think he knows something. I think he knows Canelo got to come see me. If he want Caleb's belt, Canelo got to come see me because Al gonna make sure it's a 2-fight deal. Why does the zone, like you said, I thought it was 3 fight, but you're right. They finished up one deal and then did another 2 fights. even though he really still did 3 with them post the whole thing, but it was a 2-fight deal that he signed. So why can't you do a 2-fight deal with PBC? He'll go to 2 fights. We're not even saying Charlo. You don't want to do 160. He's not even coming up. We're giving you Caleb Plant. You get a chance to get the belt. And bam, here you go, David Benavidez.
If you just so happen to win, here, take this monster.
And here's the other narrative again, and it's bad politics on Canelo. You know, what I sent you a text saying, what does WB stand for? We something Canelo.
Oh yeah, we back Canelo. Yeah,
we back Canelo, right? So the we back Canelo sanctioning body. The problem with that is they'll be like, well, David Benavidez never actually lost the WBC in the ring, and they'll say Canelo really didn't earn that WBC belt. The WBC threw it in there in the fight with Callum Smith, and Callum Smith wasn't even ranked in the WBC high. He wasn't even in the top 3 of the WBC. So it's going to be a bad look on Canelo either way, because David's going to be like, that's my belt. You didn't earn it. I was the last WBC champion, which I'm
the lineal champion.
Nobody beat me.
Nobody beat me for the belt.
So come and beat me if you want that. And then David will talk that talk. He'll be respectful. Hey, Canelo's great. He's amazing, but he can't beat me. And that's my belt.
Once he gets that message, go ahead from Al and Sam, he gonna go the fuck off.
He gonna say, okay, you know, he said, why does it not apply to me? Everybody say you gotta beat the man, you know. Y'all over here saying Teofimo's undisputed because he beat the man that had all the belts and nobody beat that man. Then nobody beat me. So why doesn't the same logic apply? So he can use old media's trickery against them. You know, it's same thing they go for Tyson Fury. Oh, y'all would say Tyson Fury's the lineal. He's the
lineal champion. Yeah.
Okay, so cool. So come beat the man. And I think they just old media lose that argument going and coming. And here's the other thing. It is an absolutely huge fight. That would if Canelo fought David Benavidez, there's only maybe 2 or 3 other fights you can make that would be bigger than that fight. Terrence Bud Crawford, Errol Spence, Vasyl Lomachenko versus Tank Davis.
Woo.
And obviously Wilder and anybody, right? Wilder Fury or Wilder AJ. Let's say if Wilder knocks out Fury, Wilder AJ, that would be bigger. So those are the only fights that would be bigger than and that's conditional, right? Errol's got to beat Pacquiao. That's conditional. Wilder's got to beat Fury. So there's conditions there. But let's say Wilder does beat Fury. The only guy left standing there is AJ. So that's plausible, even though we know AJ been ducking him forever. And, you know, obviously, Bud is obviously ducking Errol now. He's, I don't want to fight the guy. I want to fight dude, whatever. It's for all the belts. It's for pound supremacy. You don't, you know, everybody, Errol gives you the one credibility, that nobody ever says you have. Nobody ever claims that you fought the top guys at 147. They all lie and say the top guys are afraid of you. So if Errol was willing to step on the line and sign that dotted line, why aren't you? See, there's no excuses for Bud. So those fights are the only fights that are bigger than Canelo and Benavidez. And you know the crazy thing about it? We could technically get all those fights all next year. They're all, each one of those fights are all possible.
Yes. Yes.
But this is why boxing needs a commissioner, because if I'm a commissioner.
You said Tank Loma?
Tank Loma at 135.
You think that would be a bigger fight than Tank?
That would be a bigger fight. That would be a bigger fight.
Tank and Dev?
I'm gonna tell you why. Tank is Tank. He's huge. The other thing is Tank now has the Canelo affiliation, right? So that shine, you're starting to see the symmetry. And Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson says, "Oh, Tank is
the best ever.
He's the best ever." So you got a former past great, and you got a current great who are backing Tank Davis, and then you got mainstream media, and rightfully so, and a lot of people backing Vasyl Lomachenko. And after looking at his performance, you can see it. Two southpaws. Oh
yeah. I forgot about that part.
That's heat, bro. Like that fight, I'm sorry. It's bigger.
I would just hope, I'm not going to speak on the situation. I would just hope that in the upcoming months, Devin Haney makes a very good decision as far as boxing goes and his career and his training. and from there he starts to take some of these fights because now it's starting to look like it's open for him to
Yeah.
just start.
See, I think Haney comes in again. He's younger. I think Haney comes in on a backside of that. I think that's what, and that's a good spot for him to be in. Let these guys, let these older guys figure it out. Keep building yourself up, and then be there when the dust settles. Because nobody's looking for Haney. Not even right now. Tank ain't calling Devin out. Lomachenko says I'll fight him, but he ain't calling him out. Lomachenko's looking for Teo for that get back, and Lomachenko said I'll fight Tank. Tank has been talking about Lomachenko forever. That's
that's the part that people don't admit. Like Tank Ben called him out, and he never called him out. Yeah, he did years ago.
When you look at all these fights, they all make sense. Canelo won't say Benavidez's name. Benavidez been saying Canelo's name, so we have doubt there. Wilder been calling out AJ. AJ talks a lot of trash, but
not just called him out. Offered him the $50 million that he wanted.
$50 million. So, but AJ would have nowhere to. At that point, if he beats Fury, AJ has nowhere to go.
But do you think? Speaking on that fight, Wilder Fury, no, Wilder Joshua. Do you think that happens in the States or does it happen over there?
That happens in the States.
You think so?
Yeah, it happens in the States.
Okay.
It happens in the States, and it happens in Vegas at the Raiders Stadium. That's where it happens.
You got to do it there.
That's the only place to do it. That is that's the best. That's the only place to do it. You would say Madison Square Garden because
no. But either it would have to be there, or it got to be Wembley, bro. 100,000.
But because it's heavyweights and history of heavyweights, it's mostly in these big arenas. It would either have to be at Wembley or it would have to be at Vegas. My money is that goes on Vegas because the money side, if we ask ourselves, who's going to come up with more money? Do I trust Al to come up with the bigger money to have it in the States? Or do I trust Eddie Hearn and Matchroom and DAZN to have it go in the UK? I trust the American networks with the pay-per-view system here and Al to make it happen over here than vice versa. So that fight would happen here in Vegas.
What would be the connector? Is it because it's the new deal for Eddie Hearn, right? I don't know if it's Matchroom or whoever it is that he's with now, but I'm sure it would be cheaper for them to pay for it than it would be for us because we would end up paying like $100 for that pay-per-view, but I'm sure that they will have some decent pay-per-view money over there.
Who knows? I just know whatever happens, it'll be in Vegas, that Raiders Stadium, and it'll be here on American soil.
Man, that shit would be crazy, bro. I tried to get the Fury Wilder tickets for the second section. They wanted $800 for the tickets, man.
Yeah, that's gonna be A-list.
Celebrity,
pimp, player, baller, hustler, chopped and screwed audience. That's what that's gonna be. Man. Everybody gonna be shining. Either everybody gonna be shining, or either you gonna have the Tom Brady's, the Denzel Washington with the
they coming out.
Sport coat.
They coming out.
Come out. All the elites in all of sports, athletics, and across the entertainment industry, they're all gonna come out to that fight. And it's Vegas, man. The lights shine nowhere brighter than Vegas. So to me, that's where it happens.
And let me say this, I forgot. I think it was a Floyd fight I looked up once. No, it wasn't Floyd. I think it was a Wilder fight. I think it was when he fought. No, the first fight with Fury. When I tried to get a ticket today, I think the first row was like $100,000.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that's gonna be crazy.
Yeah, it'd be crazy, man.
Jesus, the money they be raking in, man. God,
yeah, they get that one.
Man, and then even if you think about Tank selling out 16,500, let's just say estimated a ticket for the night was $100. That's $1 million point blah blah blah, and ticket sales, man. That's crazy. Yeah. That's crazy. Good, just salute to them though for getting that together. But yeah, we got some good fights on our hands. I would definitely like to see Devin Haney get a lot better. I mean, he's already great now, but as far as strength and conditioning, get himself together and be there, like you said, when the dust settles, and be in the mix of all the fights that's going on. Because it would be awesome to see him in a mix with Tank, even if he did get the fight with what's my man name? what's this dude?
Teofimo Ryan Garcia.
Yeah, Teofimo, but I don't think he's gonna get that because the dude just signed that deal again. But
that fight isn't happening. Here's what happens with Dev. Dev says, okay, I'm gonna let these guys do what they do at 135. I'm gonna be there, and I'm gonna knock off all the other guys. I'm gonna beat the Fortunas. I'm gonna beat the Richard Comeys. I'm gonna
Jojo Diaz.
I'm gonna beat these guys,
Tevin
and then
Farmer.
obviously I have next. And then, after Devin Haney, depending upon what he does, he can probably pick up the crumbs left from Devin Haney will be Chris Colbert, Lil B-Hop. That's how he then gets in the mix. This is 2 years, 3 years down the line, but more like 2 years down the line. So I think Haney keeps himself busy and knocks off all this, the perceived top guys in the division. And then when a super fight happens between Loma and Tank, is there. Ryan Garcia is all talk. Like, could he get the fight? Yeah, but he's all talk. He ain't done anything.
He ain't ready.
So Ryan Garcia will not fight Devin Haney. Ryan Garcia will not fight Tank. So Ryan Garcia, he won't take the risk. He won't fight, and so he'll just be a YouTube star.
He ain't ready for that. He ain't ready for that. After that fight, he won against Luke Campbell, and they went in the dressing room. You probably saw the same thing I saw. He was talking shit, and he said, I want Devin Haney or Tank next. And Canelo shook his head, and he told him, like, you're not ready for that. He said, I want those guys. And Canelo was like, you're not ready for that.
No, you're not.
You're not ready for that.
So that's clear. But I got to roll.
Yes, sir.
The bad signal. But yeah, man. Great conversation. A lot of great fights. But if those fights happen, bro, to me, those are the best fights to be made in boxing.
Yeah, they're going to be taking my money. Maybe.
Yeah. Take all our money.
Maybe.
So, yeah.
All right, man. I appreciate it, Jay. I'm going to get on up out of here.
Cool.
All right.
I'll holler at you, bro. Peace.
Yes, sir.